Begins by showing a woman, Dr. Chase, who was trying to call her daughter, Megan. But after several times she tried to contact her daughter, Megan never picked up the phone. Then, from here we can see that she's observing a name tag, then memorizes and repeats several sentences, such as the red mark means saved, and the black mark means leave it.
Red retrieve. Black leave.
After that, Dr. Chase was assigned a mission by a man named Dr. Greer. She was assigned as a commander in a team called 314. The team will evacuate people who are not infected and are still safe in the city. Before she left, Dr. Greer introduced a quarantine room for patients who had been infected with the virus. It turns out that there are 5 levels of symptoms for victims who have been infected with the virus that need to be known. If the patient is still in the first level after being infected with the virus, then the patient can still be treated with antitoxin. However, if it reaches levels 3 to 5, then the patient is already incurable. The only way they would do was just to kill them.
Even its own family.
After Dr. Chase was ready to leave, she immediately got into the bus they were taking to start the mission. Before they left, one of the members, Gunnar, approached Dr. Greer and asked about the 313 team status, since in the team there was his wife who had served in the initial city area before 314 team was formed. Unfortunately, despite the fact that they have been on duty for many days, there is still no word on the team's condition. Dr. Chase, who had just reported herself, began to meet with 2 of his members, Denise, and one of the men, Wheeler. Wheeler served as driver and Denise served as guide for the group. Before they head to the city, they must pass through the headquarters and tunnels that have been filled with zombies. When the gates of the headquarters opened, they were greeted by hordes of zombies who were rushing aggressively towards their bus. Gunnar and Denise were trying hard to fight the zombies. Dr. Chase, on the other hand, seemed unable to do much and was simply silent out of fear. After some time fighting against the zombies, they finally managed to get out of the tunnel. Then the mission continued when they had reached the route set by Gunnar. Denise and Wheeler, on the other hand, refused to take this route, because on the edge of the city, they will be dealing with a level 5 zombie virus. This indicates that the zombies there are more aggressive than those in the tunnel. At first they considered the rejection, but since Gunnar insisted on finding his wife's location in the rescue team 313, they had no choice but to comply his wishes. In the midst of the silence of the city, suddenly they found a woman who was asking for help. Dr. Chase realized this, and began preparing a test kit to ascertain whether the woman had been infected or not. The doctor who was seen going down with Gunnar, began performing a physical condition test procedure on the woman with the device she carried. After the process was complete, her blood test results showed that she was not infected. However, when they were about to evacuate the woman, they were shocked when they saw that the woman's legs had been tied. When Gunnar realized it was a trap, he immediately ordered Dr. Chase to return to the bus. Without hesitation, Gunnar immediately opened fire on the zombies that had attacked them. As zombies kept coming to their stop, Wheeler was eventually forced to run the bus. Luckily, he was able to get back on the bus even though he had to run as fast as he could.
He's in!
Dr. Chase then applied a bandage to Gunnar's arm to treat him. Gunnar noticed the doctor's strange treatment, which is so amateurish, and he attempted to ask about Dr. Chase's medical education.
Did they train you for the field?
While on their way, Gunnar saw a bus from Team 313 parked in the middle of the road. After that, Gunnar immediately checked the condition of the people in the bus. It turned out that everyone on the bus had died. Gunnar tried to control his feeling when he found his wife's dead body, which had been badly injured. At the same time, they heard a noise above the bus that sounded like multiple footsteps. Then, without their awareness, 2 zombies quickly appeared out of nowhere and grabbed Dr. Chase. Seeing the behavior of the zombies who were attacking, Denise immediately shot the zombie using a flare gun. But not long after, Gunnar, who had heard the chaos, immediately came and saved Dr. Chase. Then, they continued their journey considering they had a task to complete, even though Gunnar was still devastated by the death of his wife. Long story short, they do the rescue operation in a school. They start to go inside, and try to find someone who is still alive to be saved. When Dr. Chase was entering a toilet, there she found a body behind the toilet cubicle. Dr. Chase then found a cell phone that still works in his trouser pocket. Then she immediately took advantage of the moment to contact his daughter at home, which is Megan. After several calls, Dr. Chase was finally able to connect and communicate with Megan.
Yes, it's me. I'm here. Are you okay?
From the call, Megan said that she was very afraid to be at home alone. Meanwhile, her father was out looking for help and had not returned for a long time. After that, the call suddenly cut off.
Megan?
When the others were busy checking the room, suddenly Dr. Chase heard someone's voice from another room. Until she eventually found a woman who was holding a baby. Seeing the presence of Dr. Chase and the others, the woman immediately asked them to bring the baby. But before that, they need to check the baby's condition first. When they saw the baby, it turned out that the baby was dead.
He cries a lot, but it'll pass.
And because the woman had mental problems, she forced the officers to take the baby. Until finally, Wheeler was forced to kill the woman because she had rebelled.
Take him! Take him! Take him!
Surprisingly, after they came out of the room, they were greeted by a lot of zombies who were chasing them. As a result, they're forced to fight all of the zombies in the room. Since they couldn't find a way out at all, Gunnar then asked them to jump out of the window. Gunnar also gave one of his weapons to Dr. Chase. In that panic moment, their group rushed out of the building, including Gunnar, who struggled to hold back the zombies.
Go! I'll be right behind you! Go!
Unfortunately, because the zombies kept coming, Gunnar then gave up and was eventually killed by the zombies. A frightened Wheeler, on the other hand, leaves Dr. Chase and Denise.
You okay?
Long story short, as night fell, Dr. Chase and Denise immediately rushed into a place where they would hide until morning. At that place, Dr. Chase also said hurtful things to Denise. Dr. Chase revealed that her real name was Rebecca, not Dr. Chase.
I'm not Lauren Chase.
Plus, she is not a doctor and the purpose of her visit is to save her daughter and her husband. She also said the reason she did this because residents were not allowed to enter Los Angeles. When the pandemic hit New York, where she lives, she took the Dr. Chase's ID card from her dead body and pretended to be the doctor, in order to find his family without restrictions to enter Los Angeles.
Black leave.
She did it to get her daughter and husband back to the rescue headquarters in New York. Well, it was the reason that the fake Dr. Chase or Rebecca had been so careless in carrying out her duties. Hearing that, Denise was shocked and upset with Rebecca. However, because Denise is a kind woman, she is willing to help Rebecca to meet her children and husband at home.
All right, I'm gonna go with you.
But before that, they are now looking for tools to be used as weapons. While they were looking for it, they heard the sound of glass being shattered. Denise then asks to turn off the helmet light and turn on the night mode. And they are so surprised when they see a level 5 zombie figure attacking them right away. When the situation became critical, Wheeler appeared out of nowhere and immediately killed the zombie. In the midst of his appearance, he also said that he had seen Chase and Denise enter the shop. Then he also explained that he came back because he managed to find Dr. Ward. Following that, they received a call from a man named Dr. Ward, a doctor assigned to Team 313 who had departed before Team 314. From the radio, Dr. Ward said that he was now with the people who were still not infected and were hiding in the hospital. They're waiting to be taken to headquarters, and Dr. Ward needs a driver for his ambulance. And his position is not far from them. When they was about to go to meet Dr. Ward, Denise saw Wheeler's body, which had been attacked by zombies, indicating that he had been infected. As a result, they made a deal in which Wheeler would help Rebecca to meet her daughter at her house, and in return she would treat Wheeler so that the virus would not spread throughout his body, since level 1 infection can still be treated with antitoxin. Wheeler had no option but to agree, since he didn't have any other choice. After that, Wheeler, who is now infected, decides to take off all his protective gear in order to move easier. They then walk through each block to get to Dr. Ward's place. While on their way, a photo of Denise's son fell, making her to search for it in the middle of the road. Surprisingly, not long after, a car came and hit her. Then, the guys in the car got out of the car and kidnapped Denise. It turns out that these people are ravenous humans who intend to kill Denise and eat her flesh. Unfortunately, Rebecca and Wheeler arrived too late, cause Denise could not be saved, since her organs had been eaten by the ravenous people. Long story short, Wheeler and Rebecca finally arrived at the hospital that Dr. Ward had mentioned. Dr. Ward, on the other hand, refused to let them in, especially after seeing Wheeler without PPE and injured. Therefore, the doctor asked the two of them to prove that they weren't infected. To trick Dr. Ward, Rebecca fired the test kit into her own arm, as if it is a red blood test result or means free from infection. Dr. Ward then believed, and directed them to meet in the parking lot to start the ambulance.
Meet us down in the garage.
After the ambulance had been successfully turned on, Dr. Ward then asked them all to enter. But when Rebecca wanted to come in, Dr. Ward suddenly hit her because he had found out that she was not Dr. Chase. Dr. Ward then left the two of them.
I'm gonna kill you, motherfucker!
Not long after, they also heard the sound of the zombies approaching. Luckily, there is still an ambulance that can be run before the zombies came to attack them.
Fingers and toes!
Yeah, I think so.
Go ahead.
They then decided to go to Rebecca's house to see her daughter and husband. In the middle of the way, Wheeler revealed that he actually realized that Rebecca wasn't Dr. Chase, seeing all her movements and the way she applied a bandage to Gunner. Long story short, they ended up at Rebecca's house. There, Wheeler decided to wait in the ambulance. Meanwhile, Rebecca tried to find Megan in the house area. Rebecca was trying to find until she finally found her daughter, who was hiding under the table. Rebecca then immediately checked Megan's blood. With a happy expression on her face, Rebecca said she was not infected with the virus. It turns out that Rebecca just didn't want to worry her, because the test results showed that Megan had actually been infected. Then Rebecca went to the garage, where she found her dead husband in the trunk of the car with a camera. Inside the camera there is a recording of her husband which contains a message before his death. He purposefully locked himself in the trunk of the car, because he had been infected with the virus and did not want to harm Megan. On the other side, it appears that the zombies have noticed Wheeler's presence and came to attack him. Meanwhile, Rebecca knows that her daughter can still be saved because of a level 1 infection. Therefore, she takes off her antivirus suit and puts it on Megan to make it safer when dealing with zombies. When the two of them were about to leave, Wheeler, who was tired fighting the zombies, immediately brought the brutal creatures into the house.
Go, Megan, up the stairs. Go upstairs.
The incident then forced them to find another way out. Megan and Rebecca then managed to get out through the window at the back of the house. Unfortunately, Wheeler had been bitten so many times that he couldn't be saved anymore. Wheeler told them to leave him and continue their journey to the headquarters. On their way, they saw Dr. Ward's ambulance had caught fire at the end of the road. Then, Rebecca brings Megan in a crowd of rampaging humans who want to enter New York City in order to save her child. Meanwhile, the officers were indiscriminately killing everyone who was there. As a result, Rebecca had to be killed by the officers since she was thought to be one of these people.
I'm Dr. Lauren Chase, please.
Meanwhile, Megan was rescued by an officer because Dr. Greer thought that it was Dr. Chase, who managed to save herself after the mission she had been on.
Dr. Chase, I need an evac at the back entrance now!
Dr. Greer then gave command to take Megan or the person who was thought to be Dr. Chase to the quarantine room for immediate treatment. And the film ends.